look into doing something that you love. Because if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Cards and Content. Today, we've got a fun episode. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff we're going to talk about today. We've got some really fun topics to get into, and then a special interview with a special person from a special place. We'll talk to our guy, MikeyBcards, at the Shipshewana Card Fest. We got to sit down and chat with him. He's been a friend for a while, has been a supporter of the Shipshewana Card Fest, so excited to sit down and talk with Mikey and for you guys to hear that one. But a lot to get into today. You guys know, though, we've got to start with the one thing on my mind today, and that is now the time to buy into this off-season dip. And maybe dip is not the right word. Maybe this is more of the calm before the storm. This podcast, when it drops later this week, will be eight weeks officially until the National, 56 days. And we're in this time period now where the NBA and NHL are essentially wrapping up. Baseball is in mid-season, and really the only things I ever hear when I get on Card Social are Aaron Judge is hitting the ball incredibly well, and what crazy offers could Pirates get for Paul Skeens, and football has essentially nothing going on. I think really the only chatter we've heard these days are, is Aaron Rodgers gonna sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers or not? Like, other than that, it's a pretty slow time. Kids are out of school. People are going on vacation. We're kind of in this like summer lull. I talked about it last week. It's a great time, right? Like, you've got some of the best moments of the year for those couple sports, for like playoffs and for such. Like, that's awesome. But from a card perspective, we are going to get to the point where like things are just going to be a little quiet before we get into, the National. Now, we're a few weeks away from Fanatics Fest, but really the card event, if you go back, over time, the National is really the time where football and quarterback buzz really starts to heat up. People are looking to come into the National and transact on football and on quarterbacks. We've talked about this in our content for 5+ years. Anybody that's gone to the National for more than a couple could tell you that this is how this normally goes. And I think we spent some time here kind of looking at what that is going to look like. And it's not to say, I don't use this time to say, go buy every quarterback. They're going to be hot at the National, because that is not necessarily the case. I think it's about sitting down and maybe figuring out the right plays before we are into the National. Because if you're looking to buy guys to sell at the National 2 weeks, 3 weeks before the National, you're likely going to be late on that boat. The time to make some of these plays is likely going to be now. It might have already, it probably was a few months ago. But it's going to be guys, I think I've spent a lot of time looking at, I think some of the obvious choices on like who's going to be hot are the guys that have been hot for so long, right? The top 6 quarterbacks from a big time 24 class. Those guys are already really hot though. And, Jaden got a playoff win, had an insane season. Caleb got a whole new team around him. The buzz is going to be high on those guys, but those guys are already so high. I think what I've done is started to look at maybe some of the other guys that might make sense to maybe make some plays on, who's kind of forgotten about, who's got a prove it season coming. So I think now it's hard to believe it's 8 weeks away from the National, the biggest card collecting event of the year. You've got Fanatics Fest in the middle of this month that will add a different element to this timeline that normally doesn't exist, that I think could create some good buzz during the summer when normally it's a lot slower. So I'm excited as we get 8 weeks away, but I think the time now is to prepare for the National, prepare for that buzz. And again, it's not necessarily buy every quarterback, buy every card. This is about buying the things that people will want to transact on. We've done a lot of shows lately. I'll get into Shipshewana in a second as we recap that. We had our Grove City Card Fest not long ago. We traveled to Dallas. We traveled to a lot of shows. And we see a lot of what moves. Obviously, we talk about all the different places we sell things. A lot of the stuff we see moving right now is going to be the $25 to $200 the right cards of the right players. So that starts with quarterback in the NFL. So your $25 to $200 cards, ideally autos. The case hit market's an interesting one, as we've seen a little bit of a maybe a lull in some of the recent downtown polls. I know it looks like there's a lot of some of the 24 guys, so those have maybe moved a little bit, but I think for us it's a lot of the $25 to $200 stuff, the right names in that right price point. So maybe making some transactions, picking up some stuff, having the liquid inventory, again, right cards, right players for when the National comes around, because I think there's an opportunity to buy now and sell later, and make some flips as we head into, the National here 8 weeks from now, essentially. So excited for that. Excited to sit down and make some plays. A couple guys, on my radar. The T-Law one is interesting. I've been a T-Law, fan for a long time. I thought talent-wise, back when I saw him, it was the closest thing that I saw to luck. Was a big believer in him. Don't have a lot of T-Law stuff left. I sold most of mine probably at the right time. He's got BTJ there. They pick up Travis Hunter. There's going to be some buzz there. What does that team look like? You're going to have other guys in that same kind of category around, like, got to start proving something here soon. Kyler Murray is another one. What is Kyler going to do? I know there's some people in the market that love Kyler. You're going to get into, like, is this the year Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Lamar, are one of those guys going to go to the Super Bowl this year? It's been Mahomes for so long. Burrow went 1 year. Are we going to finally see one of those guys get over the hump? I think an interesting one for the National could potentially be Bryce Young. I've talked about that in our content before. We've got some kabooms and some downtowns we've picked up at shows over the last 3-4 months to save for that. Again, this is not me saying I'm a believer in these. I'm not trying to provide financial advice. I'm just looking at it from a perspective of who I think could have buzz going into the season. Right, wrong, or indifferent, that is a different argument. But who will people be believing in as we head into the National? We've been down this road before. People, go back through the tape. There's people have bought Kenny Pickett. We've been down the Desmond Ridder. We've been down Sam Howell. Zach Wilson, Justin Fields. Fields, I guess, is still playing. Mac Jones, $100,000 prison Mac Jones. Like, there's a lot of buzz heading into the season every year. This is no different. This is not saying buy these guys and keep them forever. This is saying I think there will be transactions to be had at the National if you have the right stuff in the right price point of the right players. And I think now is the time to start looking ahead for that. 8 weeks away. That is a little bit longer than normal, but that is definitely what is on my mind today. Quick little recap here. Shipshewana was a lot of fun. I know I didn't get to talk about it last time. We had to film the podcast a little early because we had the show that weekend. So it was obviously a busy weekend for us. Shipshewana was great. Got to see a lot of fresh faces. Had a lot of people travel pretty far. Had some people from Missouri drive, Philly drive, some flights from Boston, some flights from Philly, some Florida folks came out there. I mean, long travel, to get out to Shipshewana. So that's always very, very cool to see people making the trek out there. The next one will be August 15th and 16th in Shipshewana. So hopefully we can continue to see some more fresh faces out there. Excited to chat with Brad here soon. We haven't actually had time to sit down and talk about it since it happened. Both have just been busy preparing for different things this weekend, but excited to sit down and learn and try to get better and try to improve that show as much as possible, and just continue to build it into one of the better card shows in the Midwest. So shout out to everybody who, either watched the content, came out to the show, set up as a dealer, sponsored, shared anything about it. Obviously means so much to us. So appreciate that. But just know, excited to be back August 15th and 16th in Shipshewana for what will likely be the last one in 2025. Now, one of the main points for today I'm excited to talk about is this big corporations really getting into the hobby. Big corporations, the biggest one being Walmart. I'll get into that in a second. GameStop, has been in the card game for a little while. Again, I don't want to misspeak, but I believe it has been reported that Nat Turner is on the GameStop board. So Nat Turner, the chairman and CEO of Collectors, which has PSA, I believe is on the board for GameStop. So they've been in GameStop's been in the card space for a little while. They obviously do PSA grading. GameStop appointed Nat Turner to board of directors in 2024, November of 24. But GameStop has got into grading with PSA. They have Pokemon cards. They've started to make this, transition into more cards. And I found this tweet, came out a few days ago, but it says, this is from pkm.gg on Twitter. It says GameStop CEO confirms the company is shifting its business from being so reliant on video games. It says now there's a big focus on trading cards. So a little shift there in GameStop, getting more into the card space there. If you guys have seen some pictures online, you've seen that there are plenty of trading cards available. They do grading now. Really a mini, subsidized, like a smaller local card shop. I mean, they do grading, they have non-sport and sport, like they do a lot of the same thing outside of singles so far. You can get a lot of that stuff from GameStop. That's a big time company pivoting from their traditional video game model to now a card business. So again, how much of a pivot and how soon, still to be determined. Again, they're obviously in it now, but what is that going to be like? Is that more of a longer term play? How quickly can we expect to see some of those changes? But something that is much quicker and from a much bigger company is Walmart. A major announcement earlier or late last week that they are getting into live breaking. I didn't know Walmart had a live selling platform. Had absolutely no idea about that. But Walmart's first NFL card break, May 30th, 5 p.m. With We The Hobby. So shout out to We The Hobby for doing big things here. If you go to walmart.com/live, it is actually on their homepage right now. At least it was when we were filming this. But We The Hobby, one of the biggest breakers in the entire industry, live on Walmart running a break to be able to buy break spots and to break with whatnot or with Walmart is, that's a big deal. We've talked about this before, about this idea of like how big live selling is. The ability to, if you go back, 5 years? You went back 5 years, there wasn't really a lot of people. 5 years is probably like right around the start of it, maybe a little bit later. It's like early COVID days of, there wasn't a lot of people breaking like 24/7. It wasn't really a thing. A lot of night breaks, a lot of release day breaks. IG Live was a thing. Razzing was more of a thing. You got to go back, a little bit longer than that even for that. But now, it's 24/7. Like you can get on any of these big breaking apps, any of these live selling platforms. You can buy a break, you can buy cards, you can buy collectibles, you can buy memorabilia, you can buy pretty much anything immediately from, the click of a button in less than a minute. We can get on here right now on our phone and buy into a break in 60 seconds. And this is likely just the beginning of seeing this happen at scale. We talked about this. I remember having a conversation, I forget with who it was, when, Fanatics took over and some of the ideas around Fanatics and, their big, massive, brand in general. And doesn't seem unlikely. I mean, this is a lot like, I'm trying to think of the best way to put this. We are in the early stages, but this is going to continue to develop and be a major part of the hobby. Breaking is here to stay. Live selling is the future. To be able to get on your phone and to buy something immediately. Fanatics is going to lean into this, I'm sure. I mean, they obviously have Fanatics Live. Walmart is not into it. eBay is into it. Whatnot is absolutely massive. Seeing Walmart get into this now is not a surprise, but it's just crazy to see. I definitely wouldn't have guessed 5 years ago Walmart would be selling live breaks. But here we are in 2025, and it is definitely a thing. So, gonna be fun to watch it and see what happens. I think it's a good thing for the hobby, though, as it's going to continue to put eyes on the industry. I think that is a good thing, where people can see, oh, cool, sports cards, let me see this. I think, Fanatics wants to 10x the hobby. In order to do that, we've got to get more collectors and more eyeballs into it. In Walmart, one of the biggest companies in the United States, selling sports cards, selling breaking, just getting people more familiar with it is definitely a win for the hobby at large. So excited to see where it goes next. We are real quick back for another Stanley Cup rematch here. I've got two things actually for hockey this time. So Stanley Cup rematch, real quick. Excited to see what happens this time around. McDavid, Oilers versus the Panthers. Again, Panthers' third straight trip to the Stanley Cup. McDavid didn't get it done last year. It was 3-1. They come back, tie at 3-3, lose in 7. Crazy series. I've talked about it before. I am definitely pulling for McDavid. I'd like to see the GOATs win. McDavid is one of the best hockey players ever. Would love to see him win a Stanley Cup and finally get it done. So hopefully we get a good series, but hopefully Connor McDavid finally gets a Stanley Cup. What would this be? Year 10 for Connor? Year 9? It was a rookie in 15-16. So I have to do the math here, but 9, 10, 10 years into the league. Would be nice to see Connor McDavid finally win a ring and finally solidify himself as one of the game's best with that Stanley Cup win. Some of the best now have cups that are playing still. Ovechkin, Crosby both have cups. I think Crosby has 2. But it would be nice to see him win. But that Panthers team is good. I've watched a couple of the games so far. They're a good team. But another thing about hockey, again, doesn't normally pop up on our radar a ton, but Upper Deck making some big news. They are going to be the article from Collect. I saw this is all over social, but the article from Collect here says Upper Deck aims to curb counterfeiting of rookie patch autograph cards, and what they are doing is they're going to be adding an authenticating feature to their rookie patch autos from the Cup. So the Cup is like the best brand. If you're not familiar with hockey or hockey cards, the Cup is like the cream of the crop. It's the best product they make. That is the RPA you want in hockey, bar none. So what they're looking to do is, in order to counterfeit that, they're going to slab these up in custom slabs. They don't appear to be tag, PSA, BGS, CGC. They just appear to be like an Upper Deck type slab with a blue label on the front and a little QR code, and then the card below it. So a couple things come to mind. One, I like the idea. I like the concept. I like the effort to try to stop fake patches. It just completely ruins the value of a card with a fake patch. It is a completely different card, kills the value, makes it impossible to sell or do anything with, basically just essentially ruins the card. That is my opinion. So to stop that, I love the effort from Upper Deck. I will tell you, I am not the biggest fan of the slab itself. The big blue label on the top with the QR code, this is one man's preference, not necessarily a fan of it. Love the idea, love the concept. Would rather there be a database online on Upper Deck's website, or even a small QR code on the bottom of the card, where we could check the patch card that way. I can tell you, if I would love an Adam Fantilli Upper Deck Cup patch auto. He's a Columbus Blue Jacket, one of the bright young spots on a good young CBJ team. I would love, Fantilli Cup RPA. If I get one, I definitely don't want it in that case. That is no disrespect to Upper Deck in any way, shape, or form. I just, personal preference, would not want it in that case. I would love it in a nice, magnetic, displayed on my desk. I don't want it in that case. So I would likely crack it out. Is that going to hurt the value? I don't assume it's going to help. Like, obviously, I want it for the PC. I'm not as concerned about the value. I'm more concerned with, like, how I would want to display it. So I think putting it in there, is it easy to get out, like easy to crack? Like, is it going to lead to damaging the card itself? I like the concept. I like the effort. I don't love the display piece about it. Again, one man's opinion. But again, this is a step in the right direction for the biggest hockey cards, the biggest rookie patch autos that exist of players in Upper Deck product right now. So 23-24 Upper Deck hockey, we'll get into that. Upper Deck, the Cup hockey, we'll get into that on latest launch. But that launches this week. So big time release week. Excited to see what that looks like in a product. Again, you're putting a slab card in a box now that normally doesn't have that. So what does that look like? Is it going to be in a wrapper and you get to open it? Is it going to be on top and you just know right away what your RPA was? Can you get 2 per box, right? Is that going to lead to people weighing or CT scanning boxes? Like, it just leads to a lot more questions when, because I've ripped some Cup in the past, not enough to know, but like, can you hit 2 Cup RPAs in a box? Because if you can, and they're both in magnetics, theoretically, clearly one would weigh way more than the other. It just leads to a lot more questions that I'm like, I like the idea, don't necessarily love the execution on it. So hopefully this is a step in the right direction. Hopefully there's a little bit more, they get some feedback from this and it continues to develop, because I think this is a game changer in the card space. But I think this is early in the, infancy days on how we perfect this going forward. So we'll see if Topps and Panini get on board with anything like this, because I think this is a good thing overall for the hobby at large. All right, time to get into our interview today. Special guest Mikey B Cards joined us at the Shipshewana Card Fest. So excited for you guys to hear what Mikey B is, what he's got going on, who he is, and what he's about. So let's kick it over to our interview with Mikey B Cards. All right, what's going on, guys? We are back. We are here for a special interview in a special place. Today we've got an amazing guest joining us here live from Shipshewana, Indiana. We've got one of the early believers, early dealers, one of the best people that has been a part of the Shipshewana Card Show for a long time, someone I've gotten to know over the last couple years as I've gotten to be a part of the show and watch Brad and the team build it. So this will be a special guest today on the pod. We've got the legend himself, Mikey B. Mikey, welcome to the pod, my friend.
Ryan, I am so completely honored to be here. Thank you for having me as a guest. I have watched all of your previous shows. I used to watch your previous podcast. I'm a huge fan, so I'm going to try not to fanboy out during my time here. But what a cool location to be in, right? We're in the middle of nowhere. We have the greatest card show in the Midwest happening this weekend. I'm just so honored to be here.
All right, that means a lot. It's fun to sit down and chat about this, especially for someone that you said it earlier, greatest show in the Midwest. You've been here through a lot of this show getting built, and obviously it's turned into something special. Brad has built something crazy in little old Shipshewana, Indiana, and I'm sure we'll get into that here very, very soon, because that is a big part of our story together, and how we got here. But I want to start with, rather than how we got here, I want to start with like how you got here.
Sure.
Who you are and how we ended up right here.
Yeah, so I'm Mikey B. I've been in the hobby for a long, long time. I like to say I took a pretty long hiatus.
Okay.
I collected as a kid. When I was young, my brother and I were those early hustlers back. Now they're everywhere, but like we were the 2 kids in the card shows in Iowa when there was, the hobby was really kind of booming in the junk wax era. My first job at the age of 14 was at a card shop.
Me too.
And
I love it.
was one of the greatest jobs in my life. It was a long time ago, but picture we had a shop with cards, comics, baseball hats. We had a half-court basketball gym in our shop.
Wow.
Now, this is going to date me a little bit. We had a 45-inch TV, which at the time was like gigantic. You know, the ones that are like 10 feet deep, right? And we would hook up a Sega Genesis to it.
Is that those ones that like suck taken to the curb when you got rid of them? They're just massive.
It weighed like 3 pounds or like 3 tons. You know, I mean, it's just gigantic. But we would play like NHL hockey and Madden and stuff on that. So that job was just incredible that summer when I was 14. I really loved it. Kind of fell out of the hobby for a few years during like high school and college or whatever. And then late 2017, very randomly, as I'm sure my wife would attest, I just started thinking, you know, what about cards again? That was such a fun period in my life, and I really enjoyed the collecting aspect, and I knew that there were so many more advancements in cards that didn't exist when I first collected. So I just randomly went to my local card shop, shout out to Legends in Grand Rapids. They were in a mall at the time, and I walked in, and I remember talking to the guys, and I was like, you know, it's been 20-some years since I've collected. I'm sure cards have changed. What do I need to know? And so they were very nice and educated me, and I picked up a couple boxes, went home and ripped, and the bug hit. I mean, just so hard. And I was like, I loved it all over again. And it was just, it was incredible. I liked how there were autograph cards and there were relic cards, and just the technology in the cards was so much better than when I was a kid. And it was sports related. You know, I just love sports. So, about 2018, so early the next year, I discovered breaks. Now back then, I mean, there was like 15, 20, 25 breaks. Not a lot of people were doing breaks. So I remember discovering Rich Layton and Layton Sports Cards. I know a lot of people probably started their journey there. Especially if you were in pre-COVID. And participated in a couple breaks, and I was like, man, this is super exciting. I loved it. I thought it was great. So I found some other breakers that I would break with consistently or whatever. And then I started to think, you know, what would be better than participating in breaks is opening the product yourself. Because that, to me, is like one of the best parts of the hobby, as I'm sure you know. For sure. Right? It's ripping open a pack. You never know what you're going to get. And voila, here it is doing it. And the other things I thought of was there are a lot of great breakers in the hobby. And a lot of them did a lot of things really, really well. But there was no one that did what I thought would be like the perfect platform, right? Just like as far as what information you could access, pricing. There was a whole bunch of things that went into it that I'm like, there's so many people that do it great, but there's no one that does it perfect. Like what I thought was perfect, right?
Yeah, sure.
So in early 2018, the early days of hobby Instagram too, I found a couple of buddies, and I was like, I'm going to go to the card shop, buy a couple boxes. Why don't we pick divisions randomly? I'll open the product up on Instagram Live, and then I'll mail you guys your cards. It's like breaks, but just, you know, it's like 4 of us. A gang of 4. And we did that. And I do that like once a month, and all of a sudden, once a month became twice a month, and one break became 2, and 4 people became 20, and we just kind of grew. So late 2018, started the website, you know, formulated MikeyBcards, LLC, discovered YouTube, which had a lot more advantages than Instagram did. And it just kind of blew up from there. And it got to the point where, you know, I was still working full time. I had a big boy job, as I like to say. And it was a great career, but it was kind of coming to an end. I was working in healthcare, and I was just ready to try something different. I kind of felt like, this is not me. And what I was doing was I would work until 5 o'clock or whatever, and I'd come home and I'd do breaks and stuff like that till like 1 a.m. And that's not really sustainable. So eventually just decided, let's take this leap of faith and let's start breaking full time. And let's just see if we can make this work. And my incredible wife was so supportive in that decision. And we ran all the numbers. We looked at it like, what if it doesn't work out or whatever?
100%.
You know, we thought we had something here. We had a good community. Breaks were filling. We thought, I think we could do this. And I guess our thinking was too, like, if it didn't work out, you could always go back to a job, right? Exactly. So we started in 2019, and our goal when 2022 rolled around was we wanted to make a certain amount of money in sales for the year. That was going to define our success. If we could make that based on our margins, the business will be successful.
Yep.
And I thought, we'll take the whole year to do that. We were, I think, in the second week of February, and we hit that number. And I was like, okay, we really got something here.
Yeah.
And it just exploded from there. And just so lucky and so blessed to be able to do this for a living. It's just been incredible. And we've grown, and we've integrated new things within the brakes. We've certainly gotten a lot better from our desk and our $20 webcam and a MacBook to the setup now is pretty crazy.
Oh, yeah.
But it's still like, I still do breaks at home and everything like that. So it's very family oriented, still like very small.
Yep.
As far as like size compared to like a lot of breakers or whatever, but it's just such a great community. And honestly, it's an incredible job. It's not a job.
Yeah, 100%.
It's really, it's something we love to do. And so it's just awesome to be able to do that all the time.
I love it. It's, I think there's a lot of cool stuff to unpack here. So I'm going to try to, get into as much of it as I can. I want to start with like the first thing, first things first is, you mentioned the supportive partner. I know that's been a huge piece, in my journey. Like, my wife is my best friend. Like, she's been great, taking that leap. You're a little bit older than I am. Like, you have a really good job. And not that it's a bad thing.
It's true. It's true.
You're, you're a little bit older than I am. You have a great job. Like, I've been down that road before, and I think having a supportive partner is really the most important piece of all of it, right? Because if that person's not on your team, and you guys aren't on the same page, it's a lot harder. What was that like? Some of those conversations, just going through it with somebody who's behind you every step of the way.
Yeah, my wife Allison, who's sitting right over there, so she's giving me the death stare. But this is 100% legit. She was incredible.
Yeah,
incredible. She's always been supportive. She helps out from time to time. I like to say that one of the cool things about being an entrepreneur and having your own business is you're your own boss. I do have a boss. It's her.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
She's definitely the boss. But she's been willing to step in and help when we've got crazy sort days. I try to get her on camera every once in a while. Her nickname with our group is Hot Hands because on the rare occasion she does break, I swear to God, she pulls like the craziest stuff. So I'm like, you better be careful. You're going to have to commit yourself here. But really, I think what enabled us to make that leap of faith into building the business and doing it versus working a standard job was twofold. One, we're big savers, so we don't typically spend a ton of money or whatever. So we felt very comfortable in that if the business didn't make money or whatever, we would be okay.
Yep.
So we had an experimental phase that we could work with.
Yep.
Secondarily, she was so supportive, had a great job herself that, again, I felt very comfortable that, all right, I know that we can make this work. So we had an environment where we could experiment. I know not everybody has that.
Yep.
And it's a very tough barrier when you want to be an entrepreneur to start your business, is that, can I do this? Can I earn a living? Can I keep a roof over my heads? Can I feed my kids or whatever? It's a lot of pressure, right? That pressure is so significantly alleviated when you have such a great partner. And Allison has been an awesome partner in all of this. And I'm so glad she's by my side, honestly.
Yeah.
So I probably ask her to do more than she's
sure.
willing, but it is always helpful. Plus, what's better than working alongside your best friend, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so I married her for a reason. She's an awesome lady.
Yeah.
So to be able to have her there, and we had a short period too where she was actually working as my coworker for a little while, and I think how long did that last? We made that about like 3 or 4 months. I think she got sick of me or whatever, but that was great too. But it's cool because we both work from home, so I've got my area, she's got her area, but we see each other every day. We can do lunches or when we have time together or whatever. That's really, really cool. It's so nice to have a loving partner who's very supportive to help in those endeavors, and that's really been a huge part of our success.
I love it. Yeah, I would echo everything you said. I see a lot of that in your story, and like the same thing I went through. It's just makes it a whole lot easier, and like you said, makes it more enjoyable. Like
Sure.
you said, you married her for a reason. So now I want to talk a little bit about this. Like, I want to try to give somebody some advice. I've talked a little bit about my story in the past around like, what I did when I was starting out and taking that leap of faith. Walk me through that process. Like you say, you're prepared, like you saved money. Mm-hmm. Did you do anything in particular, anything anybody could take away from like when you were like, okay, this is the time to make that decision? Like, how did you get to the point where you're like, okay, we think we might be able to do this, to we're going to do this? What is that process like?
Sure. I think everyone's journey is different, right? Yep. And so I can't say when someone should or should not be prepared. For us, it was, can we weather the storm? More importantly, is this going to be something that I could put all my energy and passion around? Yep. And it was easier for me because while my corporate job was great, that's not where my heart was. My heart and all my energy was in the breaking side because I was constantly surrounded with our friends. We had a great community. It was just so much fun. And honestly, work should be fun. Work should be fun. If you're somewhere where you wake up in the morning and you're dreading doing what you're doing,
yep.
Obviously there's things that you've got to take into account, but I would say look into doing something that you love, because if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
Ever.
So for us, it was, kind of putting all that together. I think I've rambled there where I've missed some of your question here, but no,
just more about so one of the things, just to give you some context, like when I was like making that decision to go from like, okay, I think this could work, to like, okay, we're actually going to do this.
Yeah.
It's like taking some of the, one of the things I did was like, we did spreadsheets. Like we did just a lot of things to like make sure like, hey, like if I had to rely on this for full income
yep.
to pay all of the bills, like I think sometimes it's just like, oh, I think I could do this. And it's
sure.
like, all right, let's go. Like you're obviously, like you said, you guys prepped quite a bit.
Yeah.
Anything in particular that stood out during that process?
Same sort of thing. Yeah. We ran budgets. We looked at like what everything would look at or whatever. And I think what made it really comfortable for us making the decision was that we had established a community within our break group. I mean, this was not hey, I'm going to start this tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it's going to be my full time. So that made things way, way easier. So my advice to people that are thinking about becoming a breaker, same thing with like a shop or whatever, I would tell you, build your community first. It is so important that you have people that are supportive and people that will be there to participate in your business and help you out along the way, because there's going to be bumps in the road. It doesn't matter how big or how popular you are or whatever. There's always going to be obstacles, right? It's how you handle those obstacles that truly define you as a person and as a business. So a lot of it was, do we think we have the group to make this work? And we kind of looked. The breaks were being successful. We were breaks were filling. We had good crowds each night. Margins were good. We were able to get product, which was always a difficulty, right?
Sure.
So there were a lot of things pointing in the favor. I would say for someone who's like not doing that right now, or does not have that community yet, build that through social media or going to shows and getting to know people. There's so many different ways that you can interact with the hobby.
Yep.
That really you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not. For one, you're missing out on meeting great people, right? But the other part is you want to kind of put that all together. So, and then really it's about taking the leap and just understanding that there's no losing in business. There's only lessons, right? My daughter's soccer coach says this a lot. There's lessons in losing. So we have had things that weren't successful and we've learned from it, and we don't usually repeat the same mistakes or whatever. But again, you're going to have obstacles, you're going to have difficulties or whatever, whether that be business or other things that take place and so forth. So it's how you overcome them and how you deal with that will, I think, greatly impact how well the business will be successful.
I love it. Yeah, it's hard to add much. I think you pretty much hit everything on the head. I don't think I can literally add anything to that, but I do want to pivot a little bit. Like you talk about community, and I'm going to get into that in a second. I want to touch on that that more. But before then, as you're building this community, you're building it up. You're in breaking full time. You run your breaks through a website and through YouTube, right? In a world where live selling has exploded.
Yes.
Obviously, we are on Whatnot. There's Fanatics Live. Fanatics is a huge player in the game now. Whatnot is massive. eBay Live is coming up. There's a lot of other places to sell breaks, to sell live, to do those things. Why have you remained loyal to the website and to the YouTube?
Sure. I don't know if I'm just a dinosaur or what. I've had offers to join those apps and so forth. We experimented with one for a few months to see if we would like it or whatever. It turned out not to be for us. I think what's great about breaking is that there are so many avenues to do it. There's so many different communities. There's breakers that might be a little bit more niche toward a particular sport. There's some that do it all. You can get into breaks any time of day, no matter where you are. And that did not exist, in 2018 or whatever. There was just a few people doing it, and it was always at night, right? And it was very heavy on release days, Wednesday and Fridays. Now it's 24/7. And some breakers have multiple channels. And I think, for them, good for them. That's awesome. That's not my journey 24/7. It's just me in the business. So, we never really had those aspirations to be that crazy, that big. We kind of like to keep it small on purpose. The website and YouTube has worked really, really well for us. I love YouTube as a platform because it gives us so many options in what we can do. What's interesting is most breakers use the same software no matter what platform they're on or whatever. But you do have limitations on a Whatnot or a Fanatics Live. On YouTube, we could have 3, 4, 5 cameras live. I can have the break order right there on screen. So if somebody pops in the chat and like, hey, I'm in this break, when is it going to rip? It's right there on screen so they can see it. Or they might see that, oh, the next break has a couple of spots open. Mikey's probably going to do a filler and I don't want to miss that. Or whatever. So we have that. We can put who has what team on the screen. There's just so much more that we can do. I hated to give up some of that because to me, that was some of the things that I didn't like when I first started breaking. I'm like, man, when's my break going to go? I don't know because there's no schedule on the screen or whatever. So
totally.
I would really hate to lose that aspect of it. There are some very cool things that these other apps can do, whether it be auctions and so forth, selling singles. And we do miss that as an aspect of our business, but I think we've kind of chosen that this is a platform that works very well for us. There's still a lot of people that do YouTube, but not as many as before, clearly. But there's still people that break on Twitch, that break on Facebook, that break on, I think Breakers TV is officially done. I think that's gone or whatever, but that's showing my age there or whatever. But there are so many great options. But we have people in our break group that I think if I was to merge over into one of the other apps, they might not follow because they don't want to experience their breaks on a phone or through a particular app or whatever. And that's fine. Once again, there's just so many great ways to enjoy the hobby. I don't think that there's one right or wrong way to do it. This just works for us. And then the website part, I think is really, really cool because again, it gives me the flexibility to truly customize how we do stuff, the amount of information that's there. Again, there's different ways that you could do that through other apps. We've just found that that's worked really, really well.
Yeah, I think the one thing I've noticed in a lot of your, some of your answers in some of the discussions we've had, and I think it's one thing I've admired about you and, our time together is you're really big on like your community. Like it's a big piece of it. And it's something I believe so heavy in, and it's honestly one of the reasons, Brad and I have started to work together more, because that's one thing I've seen in Brad a lot. Like, and we're obviously here in Shipshewana, and Shipshewana started out 40. I think the number's like 44 tables, buy one get one.
Small show, right?
Small show. Tell me, like, you've been around a lot of them. How did you get to Shipshewana, Indiana? Because we're going to get into it in a second, but I don't think most people know, like, you don't set up at a lot of shows. I'm pretty sure it's just one.
I don't really set up at any show. This is it.
So how did you get to Shipshewana, and what has it been like for you to, to be able to come out here?
I think I did my first show in like 2019. It was a local show, and I don't want to throw shade on anything. It was a great show for what it was. It was a smaller show, 40-ish tables. I had no idea what I was doing, and there certainly was not the same amount of content to learn from back then that there is now.
Sure.
So I just did what I thought was right and what I remembered from when I was 14, which was very different. So I rented a showcase. I priced all my cards. I knew that was important. I came with a good attitude, ready to negotiate. or whatever. And I think that first show, I think I sold like $60 in cards. It was so bad. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, how the hell do people do this? I was like, you're giving up a Saturday, you're standing there for hours, and you're making like $60. And then I forgot that I had to pay my table rent fee. So I think my takeaway was like $20 out of that show. I was like, this blows. I'm never doing this again. And so I was like, okay, it can't be this bad.
Yep.
Shortly after that, a few months later, I went to the National. My first National was in Cleveland. So that was 2018? Mm-hmm. Huh. I mean, night and day, right? It's like going to the local putt place versus Disney World. I mean, it was so nice. And I'm like, oh my God, this is incredible. And so much more tables, so much more to see. So I was like, okay, obviously I'm not prepared for the National. There's got to be something in between, right? So some friends told me about this show in Shipshewana that had just started. I think they were like 1 or 2 deep. And they're like, this is a great mid-level show. It's in the middle of nowhere in Amish country, which right then and there, I'm like, okay, this is interesting.
Yeah.
And they're like, you should go. So I'm like, I'll go. I was like, I'll set up with some friends and see how it is.
Yep.
And just loved it.
Yep.
Loved it. We did very, very well in selling, but there was just the dealers, the people, which is really what makes this show. And I know you and Brad say that a lot, but honest to God, the people at this show are just incredible.
Yep.
So for me, it's like, I don't want to miss the show because these are all my peeps. You know, I want to say hi, catch up with everybody, which is hard because, you know, you're dealing with everything at your table and so forth. So to see this show grow from 40 tables to what we're about to experience this weekend, which is going to be nuts, 75,000 square feet, 450 plus tables, 2 nights, trade night. I mean, it has exploded. But it's exploded because there have been great people running it. There have been great people participating in it.
Yep.
It's a great show to sell at. It's a great show to buy at. It's a great show for trades. And the interesting aspect of, again, you're in the middle of nowhere. You're dodging horse and buggies to get to this show. But that's part of the... I mean, that's part of it. If you took this show and moved it to somewhere else, like Indianapolis or something like that, it would totally lose all the luster.
For sure.
So it's a part of it. And what's going to be nuts is, who knows, 2 years down the road, you guys will probably have that entire mech center, whatever it is, 100,000 square foot. It'll probably be like 700. This show is going to rival...
2 years. I'm hoping it's in August.
Yeah. This show is going to rival anything that you can find in the country. But it's a testament to the people. And all the kudos to you and Brad. Especially to Brad too, for his hard work. I texted him last night and I said, hey, take some time this weekend to look around and just know that your hard work built this.
Yep.
I was like, this is really incredible. And it's just, it's fun. I think that's the other big part of it.
Yep.
Car shows should be fun. So it's great that it's lucrative. It's great to see friends, but literally it is so fun. And it has to be fun because it's a long day. We're not used to this, you know, and I dragged my wife and my friends to help me out or whatever. And, you know, we're up early for us. So it's like, if I'm going to do this, it better be worth it.
Yeah.
Totally worth it.
We talked about that last night, and I don't think I had ever really thought about that. You know, again, like you come like, yep, going to Shipshewana, I can't miss it. And Brian and I were talking, like 3 of us driving up yesterday. We're talking, and you know, that was the conversation that came up is, you know, it is in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. And
it's an Amish country, and you're, like you said, you're dodging the horse and buggies. And I think with the people, the ability to buy and sell, Brad running it, like just so many things that go into it, like it is an experience you won't find many places. No. Like we treat it a lot like this is a trip for us. Like we bring a team, like there's a lot of people. We look forward to catching up. To me, this is like, it is an experience to come to Shipshewana. This is not your local like mall show, and there's nothing against those. Those are awesome and a huge, you know, vital part of the show scene. Mm-hmm. This is, I think this is different, and I hadn't really thought about it like that as much. It was just always like, yep, Shipshewana, can't wait. This is awesome. I love the show. Gonna grab some pretzels, and like it's gonna be great. And I
can't wait for the pretzel.
Yeah, I can't wait for the pretzel. But yeah, I think there's so much more about this show that makes it an experience. But I want to touch a little bit on, you know, on you and this show, because you set up here and you've watched our content before. I'm sure if they've watched other content creators before. I know my guy Gaby gives a lot of love to you and your value boxes. I have talked about it before on content, but like your value boxes are a lot of fun. You have a lot of variety. Your showcases have cool stuff. I don't know if we got it all on video, Brian, when we went a couple years ago. Like it was one of the last times at the barn, and we like weighed it, and there was like 80 people around Mikey's tables.
It was nuts, yeah.
You don't set up a ton, but when you do, you draw a crowd. You have a lot of cool stuff. Tell me what, some of the process or the thought around not setting up as much,
Sure.
and then the way you approach, the show.
Because we don't set up much. We like to go pretty ham when we do, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of it is, we don't do shows because most shows are on the weekends. Weekends as a breaker is kind of like my time to relax. And, as my child gets older, there's a lot more activities to do and so forth. So it's hard to get away.
Yep.
And so for me, if I'm going to do a show, it's got to be worth it. So it's got to be a combination of, can we sell a lot of things? Are we going to see a lot of people that we like to be around? Is the show going to be worth it? I want it to be worth it. And Shipsy has by far exceeded those expectations. I like to collect just like anybody else. I know I open stuff on camera, but I open stuff for myself as well. And like most people, I've got to figure out a way to get rid of that. My wife likes her closet space back or whatever. So, or, you got to put some of that, some of those buys that you have back out there. So a lot of my wanting to do Shipshewana became, I think I could do like 1 to 2 to 3 shows a year. And if I space it out like that, I'll have enough inventory to make it worthwhile.
Yep.
So we have built over the last, 2 or 3 years, I'd like to say a pretty good reputation at this show. People come to our tables, like when we go set up, we will have dealers waiting at our table for the moment that we are, Ryan's one of them,
Guilty.
yes, for sure. And I think part of the reason that we do that is we do have a great variety. We price, I don't know if aggressively is the right word. We price very competitively. We're easy to work with. I don't mind the negotiation. I've been in sales all my life. So to me, it's like, that's just a part of the game or whatever. I actually like the back and forth. And I'll tell you one thing, a quick little side here for Ryan. If you're going to do card shows and you're going to learn to negotiate and you're not watching Ryan's content on how he does it, you are missing out. So just for some of the verbiage. So I can't even tell you how many of the lines that I've taken from you. So kudos to you on that.
Appreciate that.
So yeah, we kind of looked for what's the right opportunity, and Shipsy was really that. And so what'll be really interesting about this current show that we're going to go into this weekend is the last Shipshewana show was in March, right?
Yep.
We got wiped out. I mean,
early.
Yeah, very early. Our showcases were gone. Our value boxes were gone. By midday Saturday, it was. There was not much left, right?
Pickings.
I was so happy when someone would come to the table because I'm like, oh, good, maybe there were still good deals out there, but they were hard to find, right? So a lot of the thinking was, well, how are we going to rebuild? I'm like, I'm not opening that much product, right? I don't know what to do. So it's an experiment this time. I went out and I reached across our break group and others that I knew, and I said, listen, I've got a show coming up in a couple of months. I don't have any inventory. Do you have stuff that you want to move? Because I want to buy it. I don't care if it's $1 to a couple $1,000. If it's the right stuff at the right price, does that line sound familiar, right? I'll take a look at it.
Yeah, we'll buy anything.
Yeah. And so we did exactly that. So I've got Panini case hits. I've got a lot of great baseball stuff since we're in season. I've got the QB prospects and stuff like that. A lot of stuff that I think is going to move. So it's going to be a fun experiment this show to see that if all that money, effort, and time that we put into rebuilding the table pays off. I think it will. I really think it will. But I think what makes this show so successful for us is, again, we built that reputation of we're fair to work with or whatever. Come see us and all that good stuff. And I love just people discovering us and just saying like, man, you got a lot of good stuff. Your pricing's really great. You're easy to work with. This is great. We want to be known as that.
Yeah.
So it's a blessing and a curse to sell all that stuff early.
Sure.
It truly is, but it's nice to know that, hey, what we kind of want to do per show, we can sometimes make that before the doors even open. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
For sure.
But I don't ever want it to be so intimidating because there's so many people around or they have huge stacks that people don't come up and give us a shot or whatever. Like, oh, I heard about you, and I want to go through your value boxes, but you got your 20 deep or whatever. I'd say it's just like waiting to sell stuff for you. It's worth it. Hang around or whatever.
Blessing and a curse.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Because that's the thing is like, and Brian, I'll tell you this is, I think last time, one of the guys with us was over at your table, but like I couldn't go. They're like, we obviously had some people at the table. We were a little short staffed, but you look over and I mean, that was the hard part is there's 15 people there. And it's like to go in and squeeze through somebody, not sure where they're at. It's like they are such a big hit. You've built something so known. I mean, I think the good thing is, and this is what I will always tell people is, you bring a lot, and that is quantity and variety.
Yes.
So there is something for everyone. I mean, I remember like we've bought in Star Wars, we have bought in wrestling, we have bought in WNBA, we've bought in all the major sports.
Yep.
Again, dollar cards to multi-$1,000 cards. So, I remember last time in Fort Wayne, you and I did, I think that was one of the last times we did a deal, and I think we did a deal like as the show was ending. So
yeah, I'll give Ryan some credit. I pulled him away from an Ohio State game. Do you know how hard that is?
Yeah. Ohio State Penn State game.
Yeah, there was a screen there. They had set up a TV. The game is on. It's a close game. And Ryan's like, I think he's half focused on the game, probably 90% focused on the game, 10% on going through the boxes.
Yes.
But it was fun. It was good to catch up and do that stuff like while the game was going on.
But I think that's important to the piece about your stuff is because you have so much selection, because you're easy to work with, because you've built it that way. Yeah. Like there's something in those boxes any time of the day. It definitely helps to be early because it is like, shark infested waters when you get in there early and you're like, oh, hey, there's a lot of people in here. It's like, yeah, what's that table? And it's like, that's Mikey B's table. That's where 40 people are chilling right now.
I found working in marketing most of my life that crowds of people attract crowds of people.
Yep.
So whatever you can to like get people's attention and have a lot of things for them to look through means that they'll be there for a while. So that certainly helps. And the value boxes, a lot of people love going through the value boxes. And it's fun making them, honestly. To me, it's like, that's just stuff I want to get through or whatever. So it is not uncommon for us to have $8 and $10 cards in our dollar box. In fact, there's quite a few in there.
And I think if I'm not mistaken, 14 of them this weekend? 14 value boxes,
I think we created one more. So
I was like,
try to squeeze every bit out, right?
Yeah.
But to your point, and it's a good one, offering variety. It's the same thing with breaking. Is for us, it's like we want to rip everything. Yep. I'm not an expert in every sport at all, and I certainly can't pronounce half the names in most of the sport. And I think that's something our group loves, is me slaughtering names in MMA or Bundesliga soccer or whatever, right? But we try to offer something for everybody. So offering break spots at $10 a spot or whatever. It's not like, hey, if you come break with us, you got to buy $1,000 spot in the hopes of hitting something or whatever. It's nothing like that. We try to offer a big variety. It's the same thing for the show. If you want to have a good, successful show, not everyone can have everything or whatever, but I think it is great because I have people that will come to my table that, look, I'm only here because you have Pop Century. And I love Pop Century. And I'm like, I love Pop Century. That's great. Let's talk about it. And let me show you what I got. I just ripped a case and got some really cool stuff or whatever. Or we might have some of those other sports or whatever. Having variety and having a variety in price points is one of those things that I think will help attract people to your table.
Yep. And I know that's one thing that we focus on with the show. Like it's something that since Brad and I have started working together, like from day one, I've known Brad, it's always about variety and vendors even.
Yeah.
You've got to have modern, you've got to have TCG, you've got to have a good vintage selection. Mm-hmm. Brad is huge on that.
Yeah.
So quality of people, quality of vendors, like quality of selection, like I think that, makes a show, and it clearly works for you at the table.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I don't know anything about Pokemon at all. I know it's insanely popular and it's only getting bigger.
Yep.
But every time I read threads on the Facebook page for the Shipshewana show, there's someone asking, will there be Pokemon dealers? Will there be Lorcana or others or whatever? And it feels like Shipshewana has more and more and more. And that's really great. So if that is something that you collect or that you're passionate about, this show is for you. There are plenty of dealers that deal with that. And I think that's only going to get bigger as the show expands.
For sure.
So there's literally nothing that you can't find here. It's almost becoming national-like. Like literally anything that you can think of is going to be at this show in some form or fashion.
Trying
For, that's a lofty goal, but
yeah.
There's nothing wrong with kind of aspiring and moving in that direction.
Yep, that is definitely the plan. Well, I would love to sit here and chat for so long, but we do have 14 or 15 value boxes we've got to go look at the show. So shout out to Mikey. But no, I want to. I always end the interviews the same way, and I want to ask you the question, and I'm really curious on your answer about this. If you were starting over today, right? You've been through pre-COVID, COVID. You had a job. You worked. You did this on the side. You've built something really, really cool, and you're an A+ person, A+ human. Again, I love chatting with you and catching up with you at these shows. But if you were starting over today, what advice would you give yourself?
I think we knew this going in, but I would reiterate it is don't be afraid to try things. It's okay to fail. It's not everything's going to work. Don't get too caught up in the, oh, we had a bad week. It was a real struggle to fill the breaks, or we had to give a bunch of discounts or whatever. Not every week is going to be crazy or whatnot. So I would say just, things are going to ebb and flow. Try and see what works. If it doesn't work, that's okay. Learn from it. Try not to make the same mistake twice or whatever. But, if you're not experimenting, if you're not trying to improve, if you're not trying to, try new things, you're going to get stale. And stale in an industry where there are hundreds of other people that do what you do is just a recipe for disaster.
Yep.
I mean, and the companies that are going to do well, the breakers, the shops that are going to do well are going to be the ones that invest in their community, that, try new things, that, try to stay, cutting edge or whatever. I'm not saying you got to do everything, but, you got to sometimes step out of your comfort zone. And I think that's what's been really, really rewarding in learning about new sports, learning about new technologies within the hobby, learning about new things that you can do with breaking, learning about how to do better at shows. There's just so much to learn. There's so much to learn. And more importantly, there's great people in this hobby that you can reach out to and they will help you. So we go way back, right? The old Instagram days. And I used to DM Ryan all the time about like, dude, what do you think about this? Or give me some advice on that or whatever. I still do to this day. Or whatever, and I don't know if that's not a two-way street, but it certainly could be. I don't know if I can teach him anything, but
plenty.
But I'm happy to help people. I want this hobby to be successful. I want it to continue to grow. I want to see more people come into it. I want people that are into it to continue to enjoy it, and whatever small piece of that we can be a part of is awesome. So. Try new things. Don't worry if you fail or whatever. Learn from it. Continue to grow. Continue to get great advice from great people. And yeah, I mean, everything else will come after that.
Man, I know I've said it a lot, but like I think that would just be my, my sentiment from this is just I love it. Like you're so positive. Like you're just you do things the right way. Like I think that's one thing I can definitely learn from you. It's just, it is, I love that, the take chances piece, like that is great advice, but just how positive, and it's just, I mean, I've known you for a long time, and you don't ever, have a mean look on your face. You're never like closed door. Like you're just always so welcoming no matter what. And I think that's what I love so much about you is just, the person you are at the end of it. Like you said, there's a lot of great options, a lot of people doing some really cool things, but you're definitely doing some cool stuff and you're doing it the right way. So
thanks,
great.
Man. That means a lot. And that's how it should be, right? I mean, at the end of the day, this is our job. But what an incredible career we've chosen. And it's such an honor and a blessing to be able to do it. And as someone who's worked in other industries, I mean, I wouldn't trade this for anything in the world. I mean, this is just it's so much fun and the people are so great. So, it continue to be blessed. It's there's no reason not to be positive. You should always look for the bright side in everything because it's always there. Sometimes you have to look a little harder, but there's always something good to take away from any situation or whatever. So focus on that. Don't listen to the haters or the trolls or the people that, the hobby's come and crash. No, the hobby's in a great spot. It's very healthy. It's continuing to grow. I'm very excited to see where it goes from here, and I just can't wait to be a small part of it.
Love it, man. What a fun time. What a fun interview, and I'm grateful you took time out of your busy few days to join us here. But if people want to check you out, where can they find you?
So as Ryan mentioned, we do have a website, MikeyBcards.com. Very active on Instagram and X, Twitter.
X.
It's still weird to call it X, whatever.
Sure,
it's Twitter
sure.
to me.
Yeah,
Again,
Twitter
showing
for
my
sure.
age here, but I'm slowly dipping my toes into TikTok. I am very out of place there. I think my daughter probably knows it better than I do. But we are trying to do more short form content, something I've learned from you, right? Because I think it does bring a new market for us, people to discover us or whatever. We do break on YouTube, usually on Wednesdays and Fridays. Sometimes we have an extra day or a different day in there or whatever. But it's youtube.com/MikeyBcards. And it is a phenomenal community. So if you're looking for a great break community with good people that, encourage each other, that are positive, we're very family friendly. That's very important to me. So we have a lot of people that watch our breaks with their kids or whatever. So that environment is something that we're going to keep moving forward. It's a great place to be. We'd love for people to check us out, and that's it. Yeah, have some fun with us.
I love it.
And see us at the show.
You guys are ever at Shipshewana, make sure you check Mikey out. But if you can't make it to Shipshewana, check him out online for sure. A+ guy. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks, brother. Good to talk to you.
Likewise. All right, shout out to our guy, Mikey B, for coming on the pod. Always a pleasure to get to sit down and chat with him. Don't get to do it a ton. Shipshewana is usually pretty crazy. And like I talked about on the interview with him, his tables are usually pretty crazy. So not normally a ton of time to sit and chat when he's dealing with chaos all weekend. But definitely check him out. A+ human being. So grateful for Mikey for joining the pod. Big launch week this week. We've got a lot of product dropping. I mentioned it earlier, Upper Deck Cup Hockey, 23-24. This is a big-time rookie class. Fantilli is one for me that I'll be excited to keep an eye on because he's a Blue Jacket. But Connor Bedard is a big-time name in the hockey world. We'll see what his cup sells for, but excited to track that. You look at some of the biggest names in hockey, those cup RPAs can get up there. Big time. I think there's 6-figure sales for, Ovechkin, some of the biggest names. I think the Ovechkin's one of the highest ones. Yeah, it did 381,000 in April on Sotheby's. So actually relatively recently. It was a BGS 810, gold rainbow Ovechkin patch auto 8 of 8. McDavid in 2022 sold on Heritage for a PSA 10 for 228,000. So some big time, obviously 2 all-time greats, but you can see there's some big time potential in the cup. So excited for that release. Some other stuff we've got coming out here. That NIL Yukon box, I think we talked about this previously. It must have got delayed. That's coming out. We'll have Paige Beckers in that. Select FIFA Soccer, Select H2 Football, Sage Aspire Football, Impeccable Soccer should be a fun one. And then another really good product that Topps does. Topps Sterling. I think this is one of my favorite products Topps does. We've gotten some cool cards over the years, some really, really, really cool patch autos. They have bat knob autos in this. I think this is one of those high-end products that is probably personally one of my favorite products that Topps does. I think they do an absolutely incredible job on this. Reminds me a lot of like a Dynasty type product. More of a vertical type design on a lot of them rather than, Dynasty's known for being usually a horizontal type design. So big fan of Sterling in that product. I prefer it over like a Definitive, a Gilded, some of those other big time high end releases Top does. I think Sterling is personally one of my favorites. So excited for that to drop. Good week. A lot of action happening. Some big time product. But again, I think now is the time to be making some moves. It's hard to believe 8 weeks away from the National. We are in the month, 3 weeks away later this week, till Fanatics Fest. I mean, we're getting there. It's going to be a busy summer. It was already a busy May for us, so excited just to keep the ball rolling and excited for what's ahead. So shout out to everybody who made it this far. We'll be back next week with a special interview. Again, special interviews lately. That seems to be the topic. Maybe I'll start next week with that, but that is all we got for this one, guys. Peace.